All right, welcome back to the School of Fish. I'm with one of my favorite guys in the world. He is the pride of Simi Valley, the Notre Dame high school legend of Sherman Oaks, and now he's a quarterback at Wake Forest University. My guy, Steele Pizzella. What's up, pal?
How's it going? I appreciate you having me. Love to be here.
Dude, it's so good to have you. How's the weather out there in Salem, North Carolina right now?
It's rainy right now, but it fluctuates. That's what I'd say. It's getting humid. It's about to be hot throughout the rest of the week, but we work through it.
Now, what's the ACC vibe like coming from the West Coast out there on the East Coast? Obviously, we're going to get into your journey a little bit, but you're obviously across the country. What's that like for you as a student athlete?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of teams in the ACC. You got a ton of different cultures, ton of different team vibes, but honestly, it's such high level competition, and it's a great place to be. It's a great place to play and compete on a daily basis, knowing that you're working throughout your off season to prepare for a season in the ACC. It's definitely a challenge because of how high level it is, but it pays its dividends for sure.
Now, you were going to University Washington State. The head coach Dickert got a job. He recruited you at Washington State. You packed up, ready to go. You guys were Cougar. I had the Cougar hat on, Cougar shirt. Bam, things change. They say, Steele, we want you at Wake Forest. You had to make a decision within 3 or 4 days. I remember that time. It was crazy, exciting. Everything was moving quick. Can you walk through that with me and kind of explain just how this rhythm of college football and recruiting can just absolutely pivot on a dime?
Yeah, honestly, so I can definitely talk to you about that. The biggest thing, my recruiting started really early on. And when it starts, as a freshman going all the way through to a senior, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. A lot of changes can be made, things that can happen early on, might not be an opportunity for you later on because there's always a moving part in college football. It's fast paced and you got to stay on top of it and keep track with it. But I always narrow it down to all you need is one opportunity, really. And the biggest thing for me throughout the recruiting process was I wanted to go to a place where I felt like I was wanted and I was able to get an opportunity. And Coach Dickert did that for me. And so I wanted to be a part of his team and his culture and his belief. And so I have full trust and loyalty towards him. And it was a great decision. I love it here. It's the best place I could have ever been at. And it really just kind of goes to show it really just takes one. And I'm going to repeat that again because at the end of the day, you can see all these other kids out here, like they're going to have tons of offers, right? You got other people, like don't compare yourself to them. That's the biggest thing because you got to really focus on your journey where you fit in because your personality and the way that you operate is going to be different than other people. And you're going to thrive in certain environments that other people will not thrive in. And so finding the best fit for you is the biggest, is the best case scenario within college recruiting. So I would really kind of hold yourself to what do you want, not what do other people think is a great opportunity for you. At the end of the day, it's going to be your decision. So I say go after it and find what you like.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think the thing that stands out the most is it just takes one. I was talking to Caden Samanza last week. He's at Tulane now, and it's not like he was a 40 offer guy. Took one. He got his opportunity to go to Ball State. He made the most of it. Was MAC player as a freshman of the year. Took off to Tulane. Now he's going to be the guy there. And you didn't need to do that at 4 or 5 different schools. You go one school, you get an opportunity. And for you, who I have seen since the beginning of your recruiting process, even before that, I've been working with you since you were 13 years old. You had so many different turns and just ups and downs along the way of where we were going to land, where you were going to end up, and coaches leave, offenses changes, coaches lie, kids get recruited, kids transfer, kids decommit, like all these uncontrollable things that have a lot to do with where you end up are still noise at the end of the day, where like you can only control what you can control. You have to play where you're absolutely wanted. And you were getting recruited as early as a freshman from big time schools, but the scene as a freshman and the layout was completely different than when you were a senior, whether it was a different coaching staff, whether it was just what they were doing differently with their recruiting. Like there's so much that can happen. And I always tell you as a story, where it's like, guys, just buckle up, keep grinding. You will have an opportunity if you continue to do your job, but don't get stuck in the things you can't control, especially in recruiting. And um, you are a tale I like to use as an example a lot because you had to make moves quick and it worked out because you were ready. And I think that at the end of the day, that's the tale that's really the moral of the story, right?
100%. I think you need to dedicate your energy to the right output or the right input to get the right output. If you dedicate your energy to things that are going to be controlled by you, that's the best thing you can do. Because if you waste your energy on things that aren't going to change based off of what you can physically are capable of to change, there's no point in wasting your energy on it. So I think the biggest thing is being able to stay focused and then align yourself with that common goal that you need to just focus on what you can control. And I think that will just pay so many dividends and it'll really provide results throughout your journey.
So you've got a lot of different gifts and tools in your bag as an athlete. You were a all-world baseball player growing up. That was your sport. You pivoted to football. You ran a 4.4, 4.3, 10.6 hundred. You could absolutely fly. That was kind of what people know you as out here in Los Angeles. But what I tell a lot of the people, especially kids that I train, as well as parents, how smart you are as a quarterback and how you operate inside the pocket, not just as a playmaker with dual threat ability. How much does that, how important is that to you to be known not only as a dual threat, but that you're also an operator and that you have no problem being just as lethal inside the pocket?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. I think that there's a duality to it. I think you can't have just one or the other. I think you need to have both in order to play this position, for me at least. That's if you have the capability of being able to run, you still need to have the capability of being able to throw. And I think the biggest thing that what I provide is, I think preparation is key and being able to dive into a playbook, dive into coverages, understanding your opponent throughout the week, right? Learning Monday through Friday what your opponent's going to do so that the games come just that much easier. You're able to identify it that much faster. The throws, you work all of that in the off season. If you're able to identify it, you can make the throw. And that's what I'm big on, being able to make those throws because you understand what's in front of you. You see the defense in front of you, and you have mastered your offense. You know where your guy's going to be. You've worked a connection. You've worked the chemistry over the offseason. All of those things, kind of tie down to what preparation, right? And so being able to prepare, and then obviously having the mechanics to execute, that's just going to be like it's a deadly combo. And then being able to scramble when needed to or when allowed to be able to get a couple yards for third down and convert. That's all around. It's going to be hard for a defense to manage to do all of that. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is to prepare and then utilizing the arm talent, the arm mechanics that you've been working on to make throws and anticipate the throws throughout those windows throughout the course of the game because you kind of analyzed and understood what's in front of you.
You one of those rare guys when I watch play, I can feel myself play your style of football. And I think there's just a trust that you have for me, and as far as trust I have for you, where you have done the same thing with your feet, rep after rep. You've been intentional since you were a kid working with me, whether it's how you land on the top of your drop, how you climb the pocket, where your weight is with your base. You play that way, and it's the same exact way you do it in practice year in and year out. I've seen it so many times, and it's so fun for me to watch you do that because I go through the play with you almost, if that makes sense. And it's almost like playing Madden with you, where it's like I've seen it so many times, I've trained it with you so many times, but you've also applied it and you've done it and you trust it within your game. Um, you talk a lot about preparation, and I say this all the time about you as well. It's like there's no one that comes to work more prepared, more intentional, and it shows up in how you perform when the lights are on. And I've always appreciated that about you because there's a lot of guys that can do it in practice and then things get sloppy in the game. And you've really maintained a discipline with how you operate from the training year in and year out. And it's just so fun to watch, bro. It's just like I can watch you play all day long. And even if you're just throwing like a quick out, it's like you're doing it the same way we've talked about it, how I've taught you. Obviously, you make it your own, but it's like within the foundation of everything throughout the years. And it's just so fun as a coach to see you lay it out and do it that way.
Yes, sir. Oh, it's awesome. I love translating, your practice into your play. It's the biggest key for me.
So what's more exciting for you? Seeing a gap and a seam and you take it 80 yards or absolutely ripping a 60-yard post over the top for a tub?
Personally, I might even spin the question. I mean, what's going to get the first down? What's going to get the touchdown, right? At the end of the day, it's whatever the team needs. In that moment, if they need me to run 80 yards, in that moment, if they need me to throw the 60-yard touchdown, that's what I'm going to do because, you can have a favorite play, but at the end of the day, if it ain't going to score for your team and if it isn't going to put you in the best case scenario, the best situation in that moment in the game, then I think it's not the right play. So I think I take it play by play and whatever opens up, I'm gonna trust it, and I'm gonna take what they give me. That's my biggest key.
See, that's Senator Steele talking right there, dude. That's the good political correct answer right there, bro. That's why you're always ready to go, bro. So, where do you see yourself like when you compare your game, who out there would be someone you could point to and be like, I play that kid, that guy, that professional, another college player that you can say I can, I feel like him and I are similar in styles.
I think my go-to recently has been Baker Mayfield. I love analyzing Baker Mayfield and Drew Brees. Um, the stature is a little bit more like me, and kind of the aggressiveness in the way that Baker Mayfield plays when he does need to run versus when he makes the throws. I think we kind of play in a similar fashion, and I kind of try to embody that as much as I can, with also holding some of the things that I'm very good at, and amplifying those and highlighting those as well.
Yeah, I can see that. I've always thought of Drew Brees when I thought of you, and then Russell Wilson. I see those two combined, vintage Russell with Drew Brees pocket work. Obviously Baker. Jalen Daniels is in Tampa right now, and he's able to work with Baker, closely, and he's blown away by preparation, but just also the craftsmanship of absolutely commanding an offense and knowing how to manipulate a defense and just using all your weapons and getting a play down to 1 second just so everything's correct as an offense. And Baker obviously has made a career out of just being a dog, but I think people don't really appreciate how smart he is and how well he operates and inside the pocket as well.
100%. I think a lot of these quarterbacks prepare so much that it almost seems like it's just natural, like that's just the way it is. But there's so much behind the scenes that people don't see that, allows them to play the way they play on Sundays.
Let's talk a little bit about Wake Forest. Now you're a redshirt freshman. You got a few reps last year. New QB room. What is it about that offense that you feel plays to your strength, and what are you excited about?
I mean, I'm excited about it all. I think the offense is just so well versed, and I think it really fits the way that I like playing football. And a lot of it is super fun, is what I would like to say. The biggest thing is that you're going to get throws, you're going to get runs, you're going to get all of it, a full package, and we do so many different things that it's such a well-rounded offense that I'm super excited to play in. Being able to have those intermediate throws, the quick game, and then when you need to take a shot, you have the shots. Um, Being well-rounded, it kind of just hits all different levels of the game that I really appreciate. And being able to run, it runs really fluidly when you're able to make all those things combine and make it happen all together.
From the reps I've seen, especially the spring game, you're 100% right. It feels like they get you in really good rhythm. From what you've told me, you guys have a good communication with the OC QB coach. They ask, "Hey, what do you guys like? What's going to help you get in rhythm?" I think that's really unique and cool for OCs to talk to the QBs. I think it's smart. I think that's what the relationship between an OC and a QB should be. Like, obviously, it's their offense, but they want to tailor it to their personnel and what they do well. Um, can you talk a little bit about how important that is and having that kind of communication relationship with your offense coordinator?
Oh yeah, I mean communication is so key. If you guys aren't on the same page or going into a play call, you don't understand why your coach is calling that play, then you're not on the same wavelength, and that can cause trouble. Being able to go into a third down situation, hearing a play call, and be like, okay, I know what kind of throw we're trying to make here, and I know why we called this play, and being able to trust each other and understand that he understands that I understand what he's trying to do. That's so key because then you guys can play so much faster and the playbook can expand. You can always have these talks about, tweaking things or keeping things the same, what you do like, what you don't like, and just be able to, amplify your game completely by having those conversations. They're very key to the offense.
Yeah, there's some guys that don't that will just say, "Hey, man, this is what it is. Like, figure it out." And never really understood that way of coaching, but there's a lot of egos in this game, so it's encouraging to see that you have that relationship with your OC. Speaking of a college offense, you left early enroll from Notre Dame to go to Wake Forest in the spring. How important is it to pick up that offense that spring? How important is it to leave as a quarterback early? And how long did it take you to feel comfortable in that offense?
Geez, I mean, being able to mid-year have that extra 6 months to 5 months of work, you get a whole winter off-season training, you get a whole spring camp, and you get a good portion of summer workouts. Just having those align in the way that it goes, where you get the winter training to spring camp to summer. I think it's such a better path for a young quarterback because you're able to learn under the guys that have been there for a while now. You're able to bulk up a little bit and fill out within your body and also get ahead within the playbook and then also taking the reps because you can learn a lot by taking your mental reps, but at the end of the day, being in there and making a mistake and learning from it, your own mistake, that's so key to true development, being able to grow as a player. And so having that spring camp to take those reps and to build synergy with your guys and also learn from what you need to get better at. It's a new level, it's a higher level, everything's going to happen a little faster. It's going to be overwhelming at first, but then the game's going to slow down sooner for you because you got to college sooner. And I think that's just a big deal is to be able to have that time to develop. I think it's super crucial for young quarterbacks nowadays.
How many hours would you say you put in this offseason or the first mid-year where you came in and actually buckled down, whether it was the QB room, playbook at home, like how many hours do we need to really talk about here, these young quarterbacks, so they understand what it feels like and what it actually is to immerse yourself in a new offense as a high school becoming a college player?
Right. Well, I think the hours are going to change depending on what phase you are in the season, but I can give you a general rundown within winter and spring camp. During the winter, you're mainly just doing running and lifting. So the offensive stuff needs to come from, you being, player led and then also talking to your coaches and having those meetings. But when you get a new install, right? You get an install in a day, you go over for an hour and a half with your coaches, then you go home and you go over every single play again. Then they give you actual play calls, right? You take those play calls. Personally, I'll go over them for an hour and I'll draw every single play up. I will read out the play. I will enunciate the play. I won't just read it in my head. I'll read out the play, then I will draw the play up. And it really kind of exposes what you do and don't understand about the play. And then if you have questions, you write them down, you bring them back to your coach the next day. And you kind of repeat that process in order to really master the offense. And then there's the next phase, which is spring camp. Now you're really going in and now running because you did that preparation. Now you're running these plays that you drew up, and now that you understand you had your questions answered, and now you got to make the play in real time. And if you don't make the play, you get to watch it for an hour and a half with your coach after for watching film. And then you go home and you watch it yourself and you see, are there any things that I know that I can maybe bring up to coach that I want to have fixed? So at the end of the day, it varies, but, having hour slots to get your film in is so crucial. And then also over the weekend, right? Say you had a big week of practice, you kind of, you go back during the weekend, you'll go back for each practice, like, all right, here's the plays that I kind of didn't really execute to the highest ability. Let me go back and watch these in sequence and see, is there a common theme that, I'm having an issue with it within the play? Am I not seeing something? Is it body language? Am I not reading the coverage fast enough? Is my footwork off? Finding those common themes and constantly repeating that. Once again, this is technically all preparation, in my opinion, and having to do all of that is really what it takes to be a quarterback to process at a high level at this high level stage.
Okay, well, you go home, you hour of writing a play, studying a play, writing it out, enunciating, and then writing questions about what you're not sure on. Rinse, repeat. And these are all things. This is your rhythm. This is your daily rhythm of what you do. No one's telling you to do this. No one's giving you this outline. You do this on your own accord because you want to improve. Um, so important that you said that because obviously you got to be in the QB room, you got to be there for install, you have to be on campus to be a football player, but what you do on your own time, writing it out, enunciating it, saying it out loud, then writing questions, that's the difference. That's it right there. That's what separates guys who are in it and then guys that want to be great. And it's so good to hear what that process looks like for you.
100%. I think it's really not rocket science, what I like to call it. It's really not rocket science, but it's something that if you can stay disciplined and consistent in doing, because I'll draw plays that were day one installs, and some people after 3 months, you might, okay, I already know that, right? I don't need to draw that. I know that by heart. But me personally, I'm going to draw it again, make sure I can retain the information that I understand. And being consistent with that, it's only going to help you. You might have an epiphany on a play from week one and be like, wait a minute, let me ask coach, see if, what if we did this and maybe call it something new, but we add a little tag on it. And now we have a good play for that week because this defense, it's going to work against this defense or against this team. And so being able to stay consistent and disciplined within the work you put in every day, even if it seems a little repetitive, it's going to work itself out and actually help you and provide results and provide a better understanding of your playbook.
That's so spot on, dude. The refinement, the little nugs that you can find within the refinement. And then it slows down. And then when it slows down, you get to play free. And when you get to play free, you get to play really good. And when you don't play free and things aren't slow, you're not at your capability. You're trying to play within a system. There's a difference. You have to play within a system, but once the system becomes ingrained and you know that so well, you get to be you within that system. And that's really important. And that only happens when you know the system inside and out. And that's where I see you when we talk about your process and how you look at the offense. It's obvious that you're very comfortable with it by this point. You know it. You're looking for little nuances that can maybe give you an edge, tag in a different route. And with that, how important is it for a coach to trust that you're putting in that time? So when you do bring up a hey, a scenario or a suggestion, they're open to hearing it and all ears because they trust you.
Yeah, I mean, if your coaches can see that you've been putting in the work, and if you're asking genuine questions about the offense that are at a higher level, when you have a suggestion, they're gonna realize, or at least be okay. He's been putting in his time. He's been putting in his work. We can see on the field that he's playing at a faster speed because everything is kind of slowed down. Why has it slowed down? Because he's put in the work with the playbook. So when you bring up those suggestions, naturally someone's going to be more willing to hear you out on something, right? And even if it's just a genuine question, if it's a clarification, coaches are going to be, they love that. They want to hear that the feedback and the communication aspect, especially from the quarterback position when you have to lead a team, being able to communicate your feelings and opinion on something that is going to matter or help you win or be better as a program, they're going to be more than willing to hear that out because you put in that work and it's just kind of who you are. You embody that work ethic.
That's right. I mean, what coach doesn't want to know that their offense is being really like studied, and they'll know when those questions are coming from a place of legit information and retainment. That's fantastic. What is your favorite throw?
My favorite throw is the guy that's open.
No, can't say that.
I'm serious. I
I've
love,
I think you throw a certain throw that's I've got a throw that mine, but I want to hear what your throw is.
I like the intermediate throws, getting it over someone. Those hit. When you can get it up and down and really rip it, put a spot on, and it's big yak.
I would say the same thing. I think you throw a really good 1.5 ball over a flat defender, whether it's a crossing over route or a deep out sail route. Because you can uncork a ball now. Like you've got no problem whistling one and fitting one, but I can tell like you enjoy that layer that gets in there hot. And I think you've always really,
100%.
and that shows a lot of command of a ball. I think that throw is important because it's a mature type of a throw, and you got to throw that a little earlier, and you got to be able to fit it. And those are the big time throws. It's not just the 70-yard post. It's I just threw that 20-yard ball split second earlier than I had to if I was trying to rip it.
Right. 100%.
And coaches love that stuff because that's a tough thing for a defense. If you're throwing that ball early, that's the whole point. Um, all right, I want to talk a little bit about your background as a baseball player, because I've got a 9-year-old who loves softball and she's wants to play quarterback as well, but it seems to be like she's only interested in whatever sport she's in at that time. So I'm trying to get her out of softball, and she's like kind of rolling her eyes about working out as a quarterback. But once it's football season, that's all she wants to do. What was it like for you playing baseball, being a really good baseball player? You probably had a career at it in college. Um, what was it like? Did it help you as a football player? And when you actually put the gloves down and went straight football, what was that transition like? And do you ever miss it?
First off, I definitely look back sometimes, and of course, you're going to miss a sport that you played, 10 consecutive years on, you put so much time and effort in. But the biggest thing that I would say is starting from so young. I started at 5 years old, right? Starting so young, it kind of, first of all, thank you for my parents for taking me to all these crazy tournaments, right? It's such a grind to be able to every weekend driving 2 hours out, staying in hotels, chasing the real big, club teams and all of that, the big the top organizations and all of that. But what it did help me understand is kind of back to preparation. It's going to tie all in. Is that was the regimen. It's every single week. It's practice Tuesday, practice Wednesday, practice Thursday, and then weekend tournament. And it's just repeat, repeat. If practice switched from Monday to Tuesday to Thursday, then on Wednesday I'm doing drills at home with my dad. And so being a part of a process and understanding that, it takes more work than just showing up to a tournament, that's what carried over, I think, straight into football. Is understand and football is even I would like to say that football is even more strenuous on the body day in and day out, Monday through Friday. but understanding from a young age that this is the routine that it takes in order to be great really has helped me apply that to when football started to get really serious later on in life, more towards high school. But yeah, when I put it down, it hurt a little bit for sure. But I knew I wanted to go all in football, and I think baseball throughout so many of my coaches that I've had, I've learned so many great lessons from such a young age, and the ability to approach a hard situation kind of came from my baseball coaches, and really taught me how I should approach work, approach how to be a hard worker. And I think that's always carried on to kind of just everything I do, but heavily within the football realm.
And your dad had a hard time with it, obviously. Like you said, the hours, the tournaments, the driving. He was a baseball guy in college, but I know your dad really well. He loves watching you play football, and he's in your ear just as much. Your dad, he's the only dad that I'll allow to stand right by me when I'm training other quarterbacks. Because he's just, hey, you got to see that earlier now. Hey, they need a little bit more, just a little bit more.
Yeah,
And you guys still have that. Most kids don't want to hear their dads, and you have a trust with him. You guys trust each other where you're listening to me, but there's a little bit of Mark Pizzella that's always got a little bit of extra, and
a little
you'll
bit of
hear both
input.
of us, you know? And sometimes
Yeah,
sometimes you'll tell him, no, that's not right. And other times you value his opinion because you trust. I know you trust him as an athlete because he was one, and real recognizes real, even when it's dads. And I always appreciate that that bridge has never been burned where most dads and sons, no matter if they were good athletes or not, they just don't want to hear it. They don't want to be coached by them. They don't want it. They don't even want to hear the voice. And you guys have a relationship that runs a little deeper than that, which I've always got to
yes.
pick out.
Oh yeah. No, I appreciate all of his investment into me. And it truly shows just how much he really cares. And so I couldn't thank him enough for everything that he's kind of poured into me. All the life lessons and then all the, the traveling and sacrifices he's made to be able to get to where I'm at. It's just awesome. And so I really appreciate what he's done.
No, he's fired up to watch you this year. I'm fired up. Um, I'm really excited to see you play football at a level that's very, very high. I think that you're so ready mentally. I know you're there. Physically, I know you're there. Um, I'm really excited to see you on Saturdays. I can't wait to get out to North Carolina and see a game and wear some gold and black with your parents. Um, before we leave, give me one or two words of wisdom to a young quarterback chasing a dream to play high level collegiate ball, going back to, 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I remember it all started at Simi Valley. You got your number called as a freshman and you made the most of it and went 9-0 or somewhere, something crazy where you got the keys and you didn't give them back. It's not always that way with some of these young guys. They got to wait a little longer, but what's one thing that you've learned that you can impart to these guys going through it?
Over the course of my football career, I think the biggest thing that I've realized, well, first off, I'll give a simple one, which is preparation. It's more than just game day. That's going to be key to being a quarterback always. But I think something that's a little bit more big on a life scale that will apply really well into football is I love this quote where it's where your mind goes, your energy flows. And I think being able to control your inner thoughts and understand that you need to stay on your path and it's not anyone else's path, and being intentional with your work, right? That all ties into each other, and it really is going to produce a better version of you by being able to control the controllables and understand that what you can do is what's going to matter most, not what all the noise says, not what other things are happening out there. At the end of the day, you control your journey. And I think you need to be able to harbor your energy into the right way, into your destination that you want to go and achieve. Take it day by day, because anything that's worth while is not earned immediately. And so I think it's a long process, it's a long journey, and don't get too ahead of yourself. if you put your head down and you work day by day and be intentional with that work, one day you'll zoom out and realize how far you have come. And so that's what I would leave to anyone who's younger. I think it's a good thing because it applies more than football, but also to life as a whole.
Where your brain goes, your energy flows.
Yeah,
I have to write that down. Bro, you are the man. I appreciate the time. You know I'm proud of you. I think the world of you. I know that you're going to be successful in everything you do, outside of football included, because of your preparation and just like you said, where your mind goes, you want to be great. That's just how you're built. And I love that about you, man. Thank you for always being a leader. Thank you for continuing to just strive to be the best version of yourself. And let's keep it going, dude. A lot more to do.
heck yeah. No, I appreciate you having me. It's a great time.
All right, big dog. I'll talk with you soon, man.
Sounds good. I appreciate you.